Welcome to my Scrapper PvP guide. Now, I'm not a snave at this spec, but I can teach you how to play it to a pretty high standard, and hopefully get you enjoying it more. And as usual with these, starting at the opener. You backblast from stealth, which increases the damage and also grants an upper hand, which you wouldn't get normally from using it outside of stealth. You get 30% armor penetration and 5% crit chance after using it, and backblast applies a dot called flechette round, which has two uses which I'll come to later. Blood Boiler comes next, and it has to go in this spot for your max burst. Any later and flechette round won't trigger it. Bludgeon is third to auto crit your Blood Boiler and get 5% more damage from tech attacks, which is pretty much everything you use is tech. And this also gets you up to 2 upper hands. Following on from this point, you want to keep Bludgeon on cooldown all the time and use it every 6 seconds. This is for maximum upper hand production. I can't stress this enough, your damage output is directly tied to how many upper hands you can produce. Use Sucker Punch now and it'll hit at the same time as Blood Boiler detonates for a burst spike. This punch will also regrand your upper hand off a flechette round, keeping it 2 stacks. And another punch comes straight after. Now you have 2 choices here really. If you think you can finish them off with a few more hits, then do a third Sucker Punch in a row. But if it's clearly a long fight against a healer or a tank, or just someone with their cooldowns up, I'd recommend Vital Shot first here. Since Bludgeon is off cooldown, it's obviously next. Now it's either Vital Shot or Punch depending on which one you did before Bludgeon. You do the other one. And Black Burst comes off cooldown, so use it straight away and then Punch and Bludgeon again. But now we move away from the opener to the long form of Scrapper. Scrapper has no dedicated finisher or bonus damage below 30% health to finish someone off. So it's so important to keep your sustained DPS as high as possible, which is what I'll show you next. This section is essentially an algorithm I have in my head whilst playing Scrapper. It's based off high PvE parsing principles, but simultaneously it's what you need to know to do high damage in PvP. If you're at anything less than 2 stacks, Bludgeon. But what I mean by the you've done it wrong part next is in between bludgeons you need to prepare yourself to use the next one on cooldown by spending enough of them so that you don't have 2 stacks when it comes to use it again. Using Bludgeon at 2 stacks is a waste. It'll just refresh it and you don't get it. For the rest of the time, you make sure always to have a dot on your target when you're hitting with Sucker Punch. And Blood Boiler you use on cooldown most of the time, but just not when it's clear someone's going to die before it could detonate, and then you wouldn't get the damage from it. The utilities for Scrapper really help smooth out the spec, and choosing the right ones is very important. 5% damage reduction, no brainer, take it just every time. Plain damage reduction is the best of the defensive stats. You don't need to press anything, it's always there. Just less damage overall. 15% move speed, it's subtle in its effects, but vitally it means you should always be able to catch up with someone or stay in melee range. Third is a choice between 30 seconds on your hard stun, is the cooldown overall with this, which is pretty impressive. It means it's nearly always off cooldown when you need it. Or the speed boost on Bludgeon, if you want to be moving super fast pretty much 50% of the time in combat. Tendon Blast Root, I just love this one. The possibilities given to you by a root are well worth it. And the next one has saved my life countless times. Surrender breaking all movement impairments. The value of this becomes apparent when you realise that you can't use Scamper if you're rooted and so on with slows. If I couldn't roll in the situations on the screen I'd be showing now, then I'd be dead in most of these situations, but this facilitates your Scamper and therefore saves your life. Mostly being an objective player that I am, I prefer this capability, but if you're one of those people who just goes around trying to 1v1 anything with a heartbeat, and you might want sedatives instead. The heroics come next. I'd recommend this one to make your pugnacity a great defensive move. It fills a gap in the Scoundrel's defense. And secondly, the dodge. If you don't use this already, just try it and you'll never go back to anything else. There's a few other bits and pieces to finish things off. Sneak lets you move faster outside of stealth, and you can reset it going in and out of stealth to get places quickly. So between this one and Scamper, you're very mobile across the map. Grenade and Vital Shot are my main ones closing in on someone from range, and in some cases Vital Shot can be used to trigger a Blood Boiler on someone, and it looks and feels amazing. Quickshot's purpose is mostly only for shadows with resilience up. Since all our rotational abilities are yellow damage, you need some white damage close at hand for when this happens. And finally, look at all those controlling abilities you have. You've got to be creative and think of ways to chain these together for a higher effect than just using one at a time. There's so many ways you can combine them. Many thanks for watching, and I hope it helped you in some way.